going to give us some pointers about recovery.
Hi, I'm Jeff Chang, and this is the Blue Planet Paddle Clinic we do every Wednesday. So today's topic is the recovery in your paddle stroke. So that's when you bring your paddle back to the front. So we see a lot of, especially beginners, they bring their paddle way up in the air, and or way back. The key to recovery is you want it to be very efficient and relaxed. Also, that's your time when you can actually rest a little bit. So the key to recovery, let's say this is the water, is you want the paddle low to the water. So you don't want to bring it up high like this, that's inefficient. You just want to bring it low, put paddle back in, do your stroke, and bring it back low again, like that. And then the other thing we do is we feather the paddle. So feathering the paddle is moving the paddle this way. So instead of bringing the paddle back forward flat like that, it's a little more aerodynamic to bring it back this way because it'll cut through the wind. So you pull back through your stroke, and then you turn the blade like this and you bring it forward. So this is the motion we like to see, and we like to see it close to the water. So there's a couple of drills you can do to make sure you're doing that. One thing you can do is, it's like that in swimming we have the fingertip drag drill to make high elbows. So what you do is you bring the paddle back in your recovery is you drag it on the water, just on the very surface of the water. And that will give you an idea of how low it's supposed to be when you bring it forward. The other thing with paddle technique now that we're focusing on is you want a good catch and pull through the water. You don't want to pull through too fast. So that actually slows the stroke down a little bit. You don't want the paddle moving faster than the board. So the pull through the water is relatively slow, but you want the recovery to be quick. So usually it's like 1, 2, and 1. And so you want the recovery to be quick, so that you don't waste time with your board slowing down. So another thing what I learned from canoe paddlers actually to facilitate that quick recovery is at the end of your stroke you actually turn your wrist this way. So when the paddle stroke's done, you actually do this, and that puts the paddle in a feather position ready to come forward. But it actually quickens the turning to the feather position, because if you just pull back and you think about feathering, the turning of the wrist might happen after you start pulling it forward. But at the end of the stroke, if you start pulling the wrist at the very end, it actually helps the paddle exit the water, and it puts it in the feather position already for bringing it back forward. So if you watch really good canoe paddlers, I don't know, at your local beach or canoe paddling technique, they won't say anything, but you'll notice at the end of their stroke, their wrist will come like this. And I don't really see too many stand-up paddlers doing that, but if you watch a really good canoe paddler who's a really good stand-up paddler, you'll see him doing that. And that basically quickens the start of the recovery so that you can do a quick recovery, and the board won't slow down as much when you're doing the recovery. So that's about it. It's really simple, but you'd be amazed how many people paddle and they do this. It's really common for beginners. The first thing I see them doing when they're giving a lesson is they're doing this.
It's like dropping the top hand on the
Yeah, and so you just in your mind, you should probably do that paddle tip drag drill every once in a while, just to remind yourself where the paddle is, and then it'll become second nature. And then that'll make the paddle stroke more efficient. Any movement that's extraneous to the paddle stroke that's unnecessary. It's waste your energy. So that's what you don't want to do. So paddling recovery is all about increasing your efficiency through no wasted motion. And then also, like we were talking, I just mentioned it briefly, but that gives you a chance to rest. You're pulling, straining all your muscles, but that's one period during the stroke where you can actually let them recover a little bit. Maybe take a breath. As you're gliding forward, take a breath, let your arms relax a little bit, and then before you engage again.
One thing that helped me was like that wrist, twisting the wrist to feather. If you do it at the right moment, it feels like it almost pulls the, kind of projects the blade back forward. So that's a good point.
Kind of actually, you're right. It kind of adds a spring out of the water and pushing it forward.
Yeah, it's like you redirect the energy back forward to the front of the stroke.
Good point.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you. Aloha. This is the Blue Planet Paddle Clinic. Every Wednesday, we still do it.